Israel declares a state of war. Once the war begins, how many families will be displaced? Divorce and separation. Today, the film Nowhere to Be Found allows you to experience firsthand how difficult freedom and peace can be. At the beginning of the story, Nico purchased smuggling tickets for his wife Mia and their unborn child to have a better life. They prepared to go to the United States, even though they knew it might be a one-way journey. But for the sake of their child, they decided to go anyway. Both of them were placed in a shipping container, along with many other migrants. Nico comforted Mia and told her to sleep with peace of mind. They would arrive when they wake up. But suddenly, the noise outside woke them up. The iron door was opened. Another group of refugees rushed in. The leader felt that there were too many people and ordered some to get down to avoid detection. They forcefully pulled Nico out through a small hole. Mia discovered that Nico was taken into another green container. He quickly called Mia. Mia reassured him that she's fine. As soon as they reach shore, they will come to get him. But before she finished speaking, a group of armed militants hijacked the shipping container. They opened the iron door and found it empty inside. The leader approached and discovered a hidden door. The people inside were terrified, afraid to move. Soon, he noticed something amiss. He instructed the people inside to come out on their own and promised not to harm them. Mia used this opportunity to climb onto the boxes. Then a woman opened the door. But she didn't keep her promise and directly killed the woman. She then ordered her men to open fire inside. The sound of gunfire and screams filled the shipping container. You can imagine how desperate the people inside were. Mia was terrified. She covered her mouth tightly, afraid to make a sound. After the gunfire ceased, everyone inside was dead. Luckily, they didn't discover. Mia's men quickly carried out all the bodies and cleaned up the bloodstains in the shipping container. A crane lifted the shipping container onto a ship. Mia embarked on an unknown journey. In the middle of the night, a sudden jolt woke Mia up. It turned out that the cargo ship encountered a storm at sea. In an instant, Mia's shipping container was thrown off into the water. Fortunately, when she woke up in pain, the shipping container hadn't sunk to the bottom of the sea. She looked outside through a small hole. All she could see was the vast ocean. She quickly called her husband, but the screen was broken. She found a phone, but there was no signal. Just then, she heard cries from outside. She leaned over the small hole to look. It turned out to be coming from the green shipping container. Because there were too many people, it was sinking to the bottom of the sea, and her husband Nico was inside. You can imagine how desperate the people in the container were. Eventually, they sank to the bottom of the sea. Mia was filled with despair. She took out a small knife, thinking about joining her husband in death. Suddenly, the pain in her stomach woke her up. Even if it's difficult and painful, she must give birth to the child. Gradually, Mia fell asleep again. Suddenly, the wooden box above her head woke her up. Fortunately, she managed to avoid it in time, but the container was filling with water. It was about to be submerged. A scream. Turns out, it was just a nightmare. But indeed, water was entering the container. He opened a box. Inside, there were food containers. Looking at the tape on the container lid, he came up with an idea. To seal the small hole letting in water with tape. In another box, he found some pipes. Using the food containers, he slowly poured out the seawater. He took out his backpack. Inside, there were supplies. Just then, the phone suddenly rang. It turned out to be Nico calling. Mia was overjoyed. It turned out that Nico wasn't in the same container, and neither of them knew their current location. Mia hoped that they would keep calling each other. But do you think? It's more important now to preserve phone battery life, so that once either of them is rescued, they can contact the other. Soon, a severe storm raged outside. Mia's water broke, indicating she was about to give birth. Accompanied by violent winds and lightning, the baby was finally born. Looking at the adorable child, he realized he couldn't just sit and wait to die. So, he took the electric drill and cut open the container. But then there was just one step left. The drill ran out of battery. He took out a knife and started sawing slowly. But the metal was too tough. The knife broke into two pieces immediately. They had already finished all the fresh water. Thirsty, he tried to fill the bottle with seawater. He almost drank it all by mistake. Thankfully, reason overcame thirst. As they say, where there's a will there's a way. She noticed dewdrops on the metal above her head. Thirsty, she climbed up and licked them. After quenching her thirst, she fell asleep. In her dream, she saw her deceased eldest daughter. Her daughter cried and begged her to take her away. At that moment, it started raining. The rain came through the hole in the metal. Mia quickly prepared a container to collect rainwater. She had no idea how long she would have to stay inside. Then Mia came up with another idea. She found a bag from the container. With great effort, she moved the metal aside. Finally, she climbed out. But outside, there was only the vast ocean. She held her unborn child and felt deep despair. But she still didn't give up on living. While changing the baby's diaper, she threw the diaper away carelessly. Unexpectedly, the feces attracted a school of fish. Mia was surprised by this. She tied a small knife to one end of an iron rod, trying to catch fish this way. But after several attempts, she caught nothing. Unfortunately, at that moment, a plane flew by. As if she saw a glimmer of hope for survival, she smashed the TV screen, took a piece of glass as a reflector. But as she climbed out, her thigh got scratched by the metal. The pain was unbearable, but he didn't have time to focus on that. He quickly used the mirror to reflect sunlight towards the plane. But it was useless. He could only watch as the plane disappeared into the distance. Then he went back into the metal container, found the motherboard of the TV, took out a thin iron nail, pulled out a small copper wire. First, he took a sip of white wine, then poured the rest of the alcohol on his thigh for disinfection. The pain almost made him faint. Without any painkillers, he endured the pain and stitched the wound on his thigh. In a dazed state, he saw the headphone wire nearby. While comforting the baby, he used the headphone wire to weave a makeshift fishing net. The next morning, at daybreak, he went outside the container and threw the woven net into the sea. Then he threw the diaper in as well. Naturally, the bait attracted a foolish fish. After days of hunger, he finally had a taste of fresh fish. That night, he could finally sleep with a full stomach. But then his husband called. He told Mia that he was about to die. Before he passed away, he named the child Ruoya. Mia placed the phone in front of the child. It was the last farewell between father and child. With screams coming from the other end of the phone, Mia's phone also ran out of battery. To make matters worse, the seawater was rising. He had already made a simple bamboo raft, but he realized that the photo of Nicole was still inside the container. He had to take the risk and go inside to retrieve it, but his feet got entangled in a rope. Fortunately, he cut it loose with a small knife, emerging from the water again, but the child was nowhere to be found. In the pitch-black night, how could Mia find the child in the vast ocean? Suddenly, a whale swam beneath her feet. The spray from the whale's spout landed on the child's face. The cries helped Mia locate them. Finally, the child was found, but the makeshift bamboo raft could not withstand the weight of an adult. Mia had to lie on top of it. The next morning, Mia had no food or water left. She gradually fell into a deep sleep. Fortunately, a fishing boat spotted them not far away. They quickly rescued the child. There was still a rope on the bamboo raft. They pulled it up and found a woman. But by then, Mia had already stopped breathing. The woman performed CPR on her incessantly. But there was still no response. That's when a miracle happened. The cry of the baby successfully awakened Mia. The movie Infernal Affairs, full of tension and excitement throughout. Perhaps those of us born in peaceful times cannot fully understand their yearning for freedom.